Hey guys, welcome back to the episode of Call of Vlog Talk. It's your boy John, and we here and we live. We're gonna talk through it, and I have a full cast here with me to do so. And I brought all the men as we prayed on my downfall to be part of that. So let me start with number one. It's Virgil. Uzi was a good, my guy.
Yeah, can't be better. Had a wonderful Sunday.
Can you imagine? We have Brandon. Brandon, they can't say we lose and we don't be here. Though. They can't say we lose and we don't be here.
Bro, only big size lost to Manchester clubs this weekend. Bro. That's just how it goes. Also, this episode is a bad episode for Ring Lighting. We're actually doing this episode a lot earlier than normal, so you might be able to see everybody a little clearer
Yeah.
with the actual sunlight.
And then last one, we have the man who's creating the spin golden generation of the Americans for 2034. Daniel Patrick. Pat was a good, my guy.
I good,
That's
I
a
good. Hope
that's an
everyone is
interesting
well.
way to say Mexico, bro.
All right, guys. So as you can expect, we're going to start with Arsenal versus Manchester City. And before we get what's mine and Virgil's opinion, let's get a neutral of what their overview of the game was, how they felt about it, and that kind of stuff. So, Brandon, I'm going to trade to you first, bro. What is your thought about the top of the table clash between Arsenal and Manchester City?
Well, I did have something planned for this actually, so I showing it first because this is what I have written down, right? I'm not gonna read it yet. So I could either read it after you'll say what you have to say, or I could start off with these things. These are 10 truths that I had after the game.
Sure.
So you could
Yeah, go ahead now. Might as
all
well.
right.
Go ahead.
Okay, fine. So the first one is actually the only one that actually came before the game, but the rest of them are truths that came after the game. From after I watched the whole game, which I think all of us watched the game like very intensely.
Yeah.
Like I know we talked in the group chat that we were all gonna watch this game very intensely. Right. So number one of the truths, regardless of the outcome, Arsenal would still be top of the league. Oh, if y'all have any disputes, I would like y'all to tell me, right? Like if you want to dispute anything, I would. Right. Number two, both teams played the game as if it were a final, and it was exhilarating from start to finish. Anything? No, nothing. All right.
No? Agree.
Whoever said that Semenyo is the new Sadio Mane only said that because they are both African.
That's facts.
Facts,
That's
dog.
facts. That's facts. Yeah.
You know,
I tell
I don't mean to interrupt you, right, dog, but for all the aesthetic people that people had against Manny, dog, nobody could have really complained that Manny had a bad touch. But you see this brother, dog. I mean, we'll talk about individuals in the game, but wow, wow. Go ahead, Brandon.
Number four, Arteta said before the game that we will not be talking about a draw after the game. He was right.
Very, very.
On another day, both teams see red cards, but poor refing did not affect the ability of both teams to create chances.
Yeah.
Arteta's starting number six. Arteta's starting 11 and tactics was spot on, which made Eze's substitution even more curious.
No, I don't find this tactic, so it's good. I'll jump in right away.
Normal.
Okay, well, that is just something to talk about.
Yeah.
This is not the best City team Pep has ever created, but it is very fun to watch.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
true.
60 million down the drain. However, Kai Havertz did score again.
Yeah.
I mean,
Number
yeah.
9. Semenyo and Gehi were bought in January, but Kusanov has stepped up immensely since he got put to start games.
Yeah, Kusanov
Yep.
looks great.
Yep.
And the final truth of the game is, if you play the game like it's a final, then not winning the game is the worst case scenario.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Those are 10 truths of the game. Woo! Yay!
Yeah.
But
I like
I
those.
mean, I don't really have much to say. I wanna. I guess I could ask Daniel like why he thought it wasn't good tactics. I mean, I have my own opinions. But before we get into anything, I just want to put it out there that I think the tactics, the starting 11, it doesn't mean anything to me because I just wanted to see the performances of all the players, and that to me was the most important aspect of this game because if you're playing it like a final, bro, if you're not playing for a draw, then tactics don't mean anything to me. If both teams playing to win, the team that wins that's the most important thing out of this game for me. So
Correct.
that's my 10
Um,
truths.
Nice.
before we get into tactics, then just from the fan perspective, Virgil, I want you and I to just go first now. So
Yeah.
tell me now, what was your head at going into the game, and then what was your thoughts about the game?
Well, honestly, the point that Brandon make about the game being played as a final, even going before the game, I feel like that was going to happen. That was expected for obviously the magnitude of the game. But one thing that's had added pressure was Arsenal did that to themselves. They made this game a final. I feel like
Yeah,
from going into this game, you're looking back on all the previous results um, from Arsenal in the last 4 games, and you felt that a lot of pressure was on them. If you're looking at it for the long term, realistically, the only team that needed a win was City. But going into this game, you felt that Man City have been here in those positions before. Man City have been in those positions where it come down to the latter end of the season. And when they need to get a win, they could dig in and get that win. It just came to see how best Arsenal could stop that, because they didn't really have to be we talking about at the end of the day, if Arsenal was to play not attractive football and get that draw or manage to get a win, it wasn't really going to we could sit down and talk about performance, but in the grand scheme, it wouldn't really matter. The biggest question mark for me that maybe you could answer when you speak on Arsenal is when I saw that lineup, because I felt like it was bold to put Gyökeres on the bench. I also felt that it was very bold to have Eze out wide, because I feel like he's not a player that is comfortable playing out wide. And there was no, well, the danger man, and there was no Martinelli. I saw, yeah, it was
he was
just,
dangerous though.
yeah, the danger
Definitely.
man. Yeah, 'cause I feel like Martinelli is somebody that I feel like it's a danger man. But honestly, I was confused, honestly, for like what tactics Arteta was trying to go for. I felt like when the game did continue did progress, Arsenal didn't play a football any type of football where I felt like the players should be ashamed of or anything. They went for it. They went for it, but I know I feel like Arteta was showing his inner pep student there. I feel like tinkering, it was a little too much, because going into this game, Man City was going through the same lineup. We have played the same lineup week in, week out, with no changes, with barely any changes. So that was the only confusing thing to me. But going into the game, everything, I expected the game to flow like that. It played like a final. Both teams were going at it. It was very reminiscent to those matches between Man City and Liverpool, where both teams
Yeah, I
going
would
for that
agree with that.
win. Both teams really trying to push for everything. And I mean, you know, mistakes happen on our end. You had to capitalize it. Credit to Havertz for being there, but I don't know. I feel like when second half came out, although Arsenal were playing good, as Brandon did mention, that change to take off Eze, that really had my head
Yeah, yeah,
confused.
that was
That had my head really
yeah.
confused there. But I mean, honestly, apart from that, I was, at the end of the day, we still talking about a team that is first. So we're talking about the best team in England here. But I had to give it to them. I felt that Arsenal really were. They came out in this game, and they were actually playing on the front foot. They weren't really playing. They were actually playing for a win.
Yeah, and I mean, look, I don't think it's surprising when you consider the fact that this is the first time that we could see a certain configuration of players, and that the brand of football is more akin to what we've seen not last season, but to seasons prior to that, in terms of their ability to create things in the final. Ultimately, these things don't matter because we didn't get a point or a point at the end of the day. But with less touches, with less shots in the final, we created the higher quality opportunities. We had more big chances today created than any other game so far this season for us, and had the same amount as City, both with 5. And while it is that there was bold choices in the 11, I think this is what a lot of fans, and myself included, have been asking from Arteta, is to make some bold choices when things aren't going your way. I think everybody has an idea of what they think Arteta would do when everybody's fit and when everybody's available, what he would do. But I think that twice this season, I think there has been spanners thrown into the wrenches, and he's had big calls to make in high stake situations when it comes to the lineup. I think he has failed to adjust it to those in ways that I think I would have liked, and in both those games we did not go on to win. One of those was the final, and one of those was the home game to Bournemouth, where you have a certain selection of players are missing, and you need to do something inspired in order to put together a team that could go out there and put out a performance and get a result out of it, right? And I think both times he failed. And today, or rather yesterday, I think he did do that. I think he did make those inspired changes. I think he did go bold. And I think that he was rewarded with it. I think it was a performance that both teams could have won, both teams could have lost. And that is things that I could live with. I could live with games like that now. That I do think that if we don't go on to win the league, it's not because of today. Like losing away to Man City, it is what it is, right? Ultimately, this is Pep first win against us in the last 6 games in the league. And as much as Gary Neville and Carragher, these guys will put weight on the away fixtures of your main rivals, and it's sure this talk about you had to go and win, you had to go and win these places. Ultimately, like Pep, Conte, Klopp, all these guys that have won the leagues before, it's very rare these men actually do go away and win to the second place team now. But as Virgil rightly pointed out, we had put ourselves in a position where it felt like a win would have done a lot to right the sails, and a draw would have been at least a steady on the ship, neither of which they did get. And so the lineup I was happy with, the performance, with the exception of probably one or two more on the ball than anything else, I was happy with. The Eze change is one that obviously I was not happy with at all. But what I would say is that since Eze has come back, he's yet to play more than 65 minutes. And the truth is that I also know that he has come back ahead of schedule. And I don't know what level of managing his fitness is being done because obviously the season doesn't end here. We have 5 more games to go in the league and we have the Champions League to go. I don't know how much of his fitness is being managed. I don't know what part of that is, how much of that is playing a part of the conversation, And I'm not trying to give the manager an easy out there, but I do think in a day that he was going bold, I think it's okay to think that, okay, well, he's played 3 games so far back from injury. He has not completed 90 minutes. Yes, he has not gone past 65-minute market. Maybe it might be some of that. Because I do think that he knows this by now. That as he's a match winner in his own right. And you won't want to take him out of games like that. And so, yeah. Obviously we'll talk about chances and stuff like that. I mean, you talk about leaving out Gyökeres, bro. My opinion on this guy is known at this point. That was absolutely and 1000% the correct decision. I mean, obviously people are gonna point to the chances. I can't miss. First of all, the goal that he did force, like real Gyökeres is never forcing that. And the chance that he did get, Gyökeres didn't get those either. Because the man has the IQ of a small child, when it comes to these moments now, And there's a reason why he's played City twice this season, played Liverpool twice this season. He hasn't had a shot in any of his games, but Kai has 3 in this game. And while Kai might be an average finisher at best, there's an intelligence that's required in these games. He doesn't have it. And there's a miss there. There's a miss we might have to live with. And yeah, with that, let me go into Pats. You already kind of like sparked it over there where you disagree with Brandon in terms of that you think that Arteta called the tactical approach, right? So why don't you tell us why it is you disagreed with?
I from what I saw, I could only comment on what I saw, right? So I think the lineup didn't really matter. Yeah, that's about the best he could have done. So just getting that part out there. I thought the first half was a decent approach. It was cautious, but not too cautious. So yeah, I thought tactically it seems like both teams were fine until halftime, and then I expected a couple tweaks to be made, and that is where I felt like Arteta just lost the game from there. And this we analyze in the top of the prem. Okay, so in my opinion, there's no such thing as being too nitpicky because we're supposed to be analyzing the best the world has to offer right now. Okay, so I'm just gonna put that out there as well for anybody that's listening and maybe think I'm being too nitpicky. That cannot exist because we're analyzing the cream of the crop. They should get everything right on the day, especially if onlookers could see it. I think the manager should
They can
definitely
see
be able to
Yeah.
see it. Okay, you're on the field, man. Like, come on. So it's really to do with the press. Sorry, not the press. The building out from the back. I thought he got completely wrong in the second half with his approach. I think Christian Mosquera was a major factor as to why they couldn't build out. So I was going to put that out there. Arteta cannot go and play for Mosquera. I'm also going to put it out there that I understand Mosquera had to play. Well, from my understanding, Mosquera would have been the selection because his 1v1s is just better than White. And he would have had sometimes 2v1 situations to deal with, especially with, O'Reilly playing as advanced as he does. Semenyo sometimes on that side, but mainly from Doku, right? I could understand why Arteta won't trust White to successfully defend Doku. So that I'm putting that out there now too. Like putting that aside. Mosquera had to play, okay, cool. And Timber is injured because he would have been the solution, but he's injured, so he could not play. Cool. We all watched the game, right? So we know neither team pressed. Both teams sat in a mid block, which I think was another mistake from Arteta. Not the mid block, but the shape. I'll get to that part after. But both teams sat in a mid block throughout the entire game. Neither team chose to press. I think that was fair because you want to be cautious, even though we're saying we want to be adventurous as well. Both managers are going to be cautious. When you're trying to build up against a mid block, okay, and City were in a 4-4-2 mid block, you can't be static because if you go back to the game, I would say as a exercise for anyone listening, go to a random minute in the game, search until you find a building moment from Arsenal, and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. City were in a 4-4-2. No pressure on the centre backs, no pressure on the keeper. Their triggers were sideways passes to the full backs only if they got in line with the first line of press. So that was their triggers, right? Pretty obvious for everyone to see. Arsenal there were unsuccessful in playing through City's lines repeatedly. They got one or two times, to be fair, but it's an entire game, right? If we're talking about a systematic approach, they should be breaking those lines repeatedly. And the way to do that is, first thing I thought Arteta got wrong, his use of Zubimendi. Zubimendi should occupy the space between the two strikers. So between Haaland and Cherki. They were the strikers in that 4-4-2 mid-block. Zubimendi has to find himself between. Because if he doesn't do that, it allows the strikers to shift much easier. Okay, if Zubimendi goes between them, they have to collapse. Now all of a sudden, there's spaces in the wider channels. And that's where the use of your fullbacks becomes super important. That's where if they invert, you can either have a moment where the winger is coming down and he could combine there, or if they invert, and depending on City's approach to dealing with an inversion, you can find spaces like passes into the midfield right away. But I thought that Mosquera and Hincapié, they were just too flat with the back line. Go back and look at it for yourself. You'll see a very flat back line. And Arsenal worked the ball. Okay, but City never jump. And then eventually it just forces this long ball moment. City had aerial threat. Not aerial threat, but aerial cover on the day. It's a very tall back line. And for the most part, they were able to win those knockdowns and then, wrestle possession from there. But if we're talking about going on to win a game from the second half, I thought that was an obvious tactical mistake there that Arteta made. Because Arteta is very big on control. We all know this. So if you want to win the game through control, have to be able to build, right? I don't know if anyone disagrees with what I'm saying so far. Because that's kind of point number one.
Well, I kind of do, because I feel like
Okay,
I don't disagree with your nitpicking part, right? But at the same time, as you say, it is the top of the table, right? And I think sometimes you had to acknowledge that both teams doing stuff to counteract each other, right? So like at some points it's not going to work. And I kind of disagree with your Zubimendi point, because the whole purpose of City playing the four players in front of the back four, in front of Arsenal's back four, was to literally stop the ball from going in centrally through the midfield. That's why they went wide. Like that, and as I say, that was the pressing trigger. So that was by design. It wasn't because he used Zubimendi incorrectly. Is that Pep purposely set it up that way. And for the whole game, they had a 4-2-4, Like that was how they was defending. It was 4-2-4. There was a bank of 4 in front of Arsenal's back 4. They had 2 in the midfield, and then they had 2 at the back. So I disagree with the thing about how he used Zubimendi, because I think Zubimendi himself didn't do anything to help himself. Like he literally stood right there and just expected the ball to arrive to him when there are 4 people in front of him. So I don't know if that. I don't think that was a tactical problem, because that's also what happened when they played in the Carabao Cup. So I feel like if it happened to you twice and you start both games, at some point you had to recognize, hey, they're doing the same thing as before. I can't do the same thing I was doing before. If you want to say that's Arteta, fine. But to me, Zubimendi literally stood up, literally behind them, waiting for the ball. Like for minutes, the same way you say go and look at it. You could go and look at it the same way. The man literally stood up, waiting for the ball. He had what? 19,
I know where he was.
19 touches in the first half. That's not good.
I completely agree. Sorry, go ahead, John.
And I think another aspect for me is like, you talk about force, and look, at the end of the day, the fullback choices were what they were, not because of choice, but because of what was available, right? Again, I mean, you already talked about him, but like Calafiori, like he's our version of Nico O'Reilly now, who could offer that dynamic movement to help unsettle a block now. That just isn't there at the moment, right? But then the other option in dealing with the block is to go long now. And on the day, what we got differently today compared to the Carabao Cup final was that Kai won 5 out of his 10 aerial duels. And we saw that the long ball did provide an outlet, because a few times he won the knockdown, Eze got on the ball, or Odegaard got on the ball, and then we got to regain ground and go high up. And that led to a few moments, especially in the first half and early in the second half now. So, like, obviously it didn't work the whole time. And I do think as we saw as the game wore on, it worked less and less. And I think that is where you see the lack of fitness in some of these players come to the fore a little bit. But it did work. It did provide tangible success in game beyond their mid-block at times.
See,
when it stopped working, it stopped working.
Yeah,
like, as soon as it got figured out, as Daniel said, like as soon as halftime came, in the second half, it was chalk and cheese. Like the whole game shifted at that point. Right. It started to move towards City, towards the end. You saw the whole shift. I thought the first half was honestly a coin toss, and then after the first half,
I completely agree.
And then after that, that's when everything started to change. And then you could probably say that that City got the better of them for the second half, and then when Arsenal was chasing the game, you could probably say they played better, but they were chasing the game at that point. So
right.
No, I think
Go ahead, John.
For me, where I think there was is because I think City started the second half better, and I think Arsenal had like 3 moments in a row, and the 2 main ones was as they shot at the post and then the Kai 1 hour save, where I think that they felt like the momentum was switching that side, and then some players tried to be a bit too aggressive in those moments, and it caused the game to get stretched and be exposed, because even before the Haaland goal, there was also another transitional moment that happened before that now. But again, I think like they were losing grasp of what was going on in the game. And some players was trying to be a bit overzealous. Like, I can't even talk about Martinelli, but not him alone. In the wide areas were not in the spots that they should have been to be able to deny the City from being able to run centrally now. And it happened once, they get away with it. The second time, they didn't get away with it. And then after that, I still think even after the goal, that City didn't manage to maintain momentum until, like you said, later on, 75th minute, 80th minute, where they try to be more consolidatory than really trying to attack the game. But yeah, Pat, before we move on to anything else now, this is obviously your main point.
Yeah. All right, I'm gonna try to respond to most of that as much as I could remember, obviously. I'm gonna just put my 2 cents on on the Zubimendi thing. Actually, before that, I completely agree with both of y'all in the first half being fine. I think I mentioned that in my preface. My problem is really with the tactical adjustments at halftime, because from a coach's perspective, that's what a halftime is for, right? It's to tweak.
Yeah.
Your plan never works out exactly how you expect. So if you're a good coach, you're using your halftime to maximize, the tactical adjustments. Anyway, that being said, I hear what you're saying with Zubimendi. The reason that I blame the coaching as opposed to the player is because the 6 is the most tactically coached position in the game, right? So most of the times, unless we're talking about our brain dead 6, but Zubimandi is quite good. So
Daniel, you really believe that? And with Arteta's history, you really believe that?
yeah,
Look at his
100%.
history of sixes, and you truly believe that?
Well, I mean, yeah, this is probably the first season in a while that he's playing with an actual 6, right? It used to be a double pivot.
But wouldn't that tell you like he just doesn't know how to operate with one?
Okay, but doesn't that? I feel like you're making my point from a yes. I know he doesn't know how to operate with one. That's what I'm saying. He couldn't solve that problem. He needed to tell Zubimendi what he wants in possession. You know what I mean? Instead of just letting it be free flow.
I think the role that y'all are asking Subimani to do, I think I saw that Odegaard did pick up that responsibility at times, even though that should not have been his responsibility though. I agree that this is stuff that Subimani should have been doing. And
Yeah, it's a good point
I'm
to
being
make on, because
honest.
it had plenty times where Odegaard came from around the City front four to get the ball.
Correct.
And at the same time, Zubimendi didn't move. Like,
And the thing is, right,
so you
there's
can't
a
have
side of that.
a player,
He came
one
into the wrong
back.
space though. Odegaard
You're
came
right.
into the wrong
But
space.
he coming into the wrong space because what should have been the correct space being occupied is halfway by Zubimani and halfway he not doing it properly. But he already in the general area and he's still not dropping into the zones that he should have been. And I'm not saying that I'm not saying one or the other of that if it's the player or the coach, because again, right, we guess into some
We
extent.
guessing. Yeah,
But,
we are
but what I
guessing.
could say is that from seeing things like actually seeing him breaking down on the field and thing, I think the last couple of months he's a player that has been struggling with his own confidence in certain moments and confidence to take responsibility on the ball in certain high leverage moments. And I do think that he has been stepping away from taking responsibility in those specific zones that are not being exposed just now, but
Okay.
over the last few weeks now. And I do think that right now, given again like Odegaard only just come back without Marino and these kind of guys, there is limited alternatives. So who could be using in those roles? And that he has been trying to play Zubimendi through these things. Because for example, early last week, obviously it's not the same exact block because Sporting played a different formation, right? Last week when we played Sporting, Zubimendi played that same role and the same things that you are asking of him now, we've seen it then. But it was probably not, well, not probably, it is in a lesser leverage game because we already had the lead. It was at home, those kind of stuff. Probably more comfortable in that. And we saw those traits come to the fore now, but it has not been as consistent these last few weeks. And I don't think that him in particular is all tactical, but I do think some of it is mental with him. Because I do think, that especially ever since the January, February run of where he and a few others in the backline were making direct mistakes leading to chances and to goals, like he has been a bit more reserved in demanding the ball in these areas and been a bit more reserved in stepping into these areas to be an option. And it's not okay. It's not fine. And the truth is, in an ideal situation, he should have been dropped because he's not doing the role that he's been asked. Or he's not been doing the role of something similar that halfway through the season, Brandon, we were saying that he was one of the players of the season. And it's because of the same thing that he was being asked to do, and we're not seeing it anymore now. And I don't think it's something tactically different. I think it's him mentally, and also it could be exhaustion. Some people blame exhaustion, but again, last week against Sporting, I see this man running up and down the field. I don't think it's entirely down to exhaustion. I think some of it is mental strain. It could be that pressure. It could be all these things now, but
Well, that's
we
fair. I'll
a
just
little
put it as
on the tactic. But one day we'll give you a chance to wrap up on it, and then we could go through some, because we only halfway through. We even talk title race altogether, and so I don't want you to stay forever on it now. But again, you have like 2-3 minutes again to wrap up on some of the stuff you're saying.
all right, fair enough. I'll put Zubimendi thing aside and we'll just put it down to I don't know if it was tactical or what. So let's just say this is something that did not happen that I thought could have given Arsenal a lot of control in the game. And I'll put the blame on Zubimendi and the two fullbacks. Yeah? Okay.
Yeah.
And then the second one that I thought was a bit of a miss. This one came in the second half as well. I really thought he would have changed his approach to the mid block and go with a 4-4-2. He went with a 5-3-2. That was his out of possession mid block.
Yeah.
And I understand the give and takes, and I think the first half gave us enough information. I thought when I was watching it, I thought at halftime that was gonna change for sure. I wasn't too um I wasn't too convinced about his approach to build up because you could just hack it by going long, right? But I thought the mid block was going to change for sure, because it allowed City to combine too much. I thought in their sustained build up. So when City had sustained build up, meaning they're building up in Arsenal's half, for me there was too much combinations, and it's because of that three instead of a four, right? The three in the midfield instead of the four. You have to do a lot more ground coverage in a three, obviously, than in a four, because it's three. You're covering more ground. There's one less number. Cool. And it's in those moments of lateral transition that City were able to find gaps. I think with a four, there's much less gaps, and I think City kind of proved my point there too with their approach. But anyway, to me that was another big miss. I understand. Again, I'm not saying that the man do total garbage, because I understand the need for a five. It was to try and double and triple up in the wide spaces. But then City's solution there, it was clear. Once they came to the second half, it was clear they were going to try to combine centrally more, because they weren't getting as much joy in the wide spaces. It was double ups and triple ups on Doku, Cherki, Semenyo most of the times. And I don't care who you are, unless you're Messi, you're not dribbling out of a triple team. Okay? So they just decided we're going to combine centrally more. And the lateral transition, I thought, kind of killed Arsenal in some moments. City wasted their moments, okay? But it could have been different. So if I'm just judging it based off of tactical success, I think that was a bit of a miss from Arteta as well. Go 4-4-2. That's my solution.
I think one of the things too that really irked me was that I think that there's times where they did sit in the block, and there's times that we did try to be a bit more aggressive man to man. And not every time everybody had their mark down. And my biggest grievance is the one on the goal now, where it is that you want somebody who's fresh and fit. And Patrick make a joke to me on Friday night when we was playing a game of somebody need to stop Nico O'Reilly, right? Because we don't wish injury on players, right? So we won't say what it is here, right? But it is stop Nico O'Reilly, right? And I fully agree, right? Now, I find this thing, bro, I find this so funny. And Virgil, you sit down on the sidelines for a little while here, so I'll come back to you, right? But I find it so funny, boy, because I have Arsenal fans who get upset with me that, why this Calafiori just get this free role, and why it is the fullback just get all this freedom, and blah, 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 blah. And the thing is, I asked Virgil this last week, that, Virgil, do you care now that Haaland was on this ridiculously long goal scoring drought to have 2 goals whole season? But the important thing is that you found that tactical development that is working, that is producing goals, that is producing moments. And then now it comes on to the owners and these players in these moments to deliver. And Nico O'Reilly, once again, has been topped off what was incredible last month, where he did play a part in the goal. I think ultimately he did get the assist despite it going by Rodri. I don't think Rodri actually got a touch on it. And it did go to Haaland in the end, right? And it was Martinelli losing his marker there. And, bro, it was so frustrating because Nico O'Reilly played 2 roles in that passage of play, 2 parts. His role was 2-parted in that passage of play. And at no point did Martinelli reach back to his marker at all now, boy. And I think that is so representative of the small margins that's go in these games now. That is of the highest quality. That if you're not focusing on your task, then that is part of the problem. Virgil, Nico O'Reilly rises at the 4 again. If you don't have the Guardiola, you can make it in the aggregate. Just turn another player into this attacking left back that gets this freedom, So I guess what I want to ask then, is, are we verging into territory here with Nico O'Reilly? It's going beyond just young player of the year. And why can't he be player of the year for the Premier League?
That's true, because I feel, with the way how the brand of the Premier League is right now, they have a certain Portuguese player in Manchester where they might want to, don't want to snub him.
I mean, Darlow are doing too bad.
Exactly, that's exactly what I talk about. But I mean, for O'Reilly, the way how it is, I remember too. This is still, he did feature last season, but this is really his full first season, because he had those little cameos last season. But the way that Pep has him playing, we've seen him throughout the season probably play 3-4 different positions, and not just position. I mean, like 3-4 different like tactics, roles, and all those different things. Because evidently from the way he's playing, he kind of starts at left back and looks like he's playing not just an inverted midfielder, but more almost like an inverted attacker as well, because he is up there at the furthest forward with Haaland. So the way that how Pep has him playing, yeah, we understand that the way those numbers are is great, and you could go in those conversations. But he, as he alongside with Bernardo Silva, I feel like those are the players that Pep's system relies heavily on. Because just from this game, we saw the way how he played. It felt like how he played, it could be easily stopped. But yeah, also I give credit to Doku. If we go into like individual players, Doku was up there with players. I felt like they'd have a good game, but from that goal, I felt like Doku played that role perfectly, because I've been saying for the entire game, Doku and O'Reilly, just those two could create those chances, because Doku being the player he is, without having to do anything special, he draws 2-3 defenders on him, and we saw that. I saw a lot of players jump to Doku, left O'Reilly available, and that's how the goal came. But credit to O'Reilly. Right now, the way how he playing he is right now looking like, as I say, he's definitely up there for a young player this season, and definitely high on that list for player this season.
Yeah, I won't lie. I see Mascara take the Cucurella out of defending Doku there, though. Just foul as much as they could until they get a yellow card, and then after that, you might have to get sub off, though. Because, I mean, bro, if I tell you,
Mascara played better on the yellow card.
That is the funny thing. He did actually play better on the yellow card, right? And I do think it was more like an attacking sub more than worrying about him on the yellow card to bring on White. And I mean, but like Doku is an interesting player now, because I mean, ultimately his numbers aren't what you would expect from a high level winger. But you can see how he manages to facilitate threat for others. Now, funny enough, we're seeing this in praise, right? That we should be. When it was Grealish, man didn't really take as kindly to that now that a winger need to goals and assists and stuff like that. But I mean, bro, I have this perspective, and I know not everybody shares this, but I do think you all larger in agreement in it anyway, that it doesn't really matter to me in terms of who gets the numbers in your side, but rather that you have a sustainable way of getting goals and sustainable way of stopping them on the other end. Whether it be that your strikers you want scoring and the wingers you want scoring, or you have goal scoring midfielders or whatever, like, bro, ultimately it doesn't matter. To me, everything just comes down to sustainability of approach. And if you have that sustainability, bro, who cares? Just let me know so we can put the FPL number so we know who we could choose and that kind of thing, right? Brandon, players wise though, this is another day of Haaland versus Gabriel, and this is the first time in a while that City won the winning and Haaland did win. Haaland scored the winner. I won't lie, I do think it's a bit of foulish in the actual attempt again on the goal, but the
You being serious?
I was also finishing my thought in that I do think at the same time that Anthony Taylor did allow them to tussle the whole game now. And so, like, if it is you allowing it, bro, then it's just fair play now, which is fine. Like, again, my stance always is just be consistent now, And he allowed that consistency throughout the game, even as simple as not giving reds in any moment, is that now these two men have something. And I saw somebody compare them, their I don't want to say feud, but like their aggravation towards one another, kind of similar to Roy Keane and Patrick Vieira now, of where like you can tell that there's some level of mutual respect, but also there is a combativeness that they want to get one over the other now, which I like, I do like. So when you thought about that battle, and this is Haaland ending his goal drought and scoring a huge goal in City's pursuit of another Premier League title.
I thought it was great. I was kind of glad the ref. Well, he could have done two things, right? He could have either from early on said cut it out, or I'll card you all immediately, or he could have let him. He could just say, I know I can't do anything about this. They're gonna fight for the whole game. Let them sort it out on its own. If they foul each other, we will call it. Well, and there were a few times where they were both fouling each other, and you can't really call two fouls, right? You had to pick one, or you just leave it alone, because that happened many times. Even for the goal, they both fouling each other, so you had to let it go, right? I thought it was real good to see. I was glad it's good to see like a fight. There was a lot of bites in the game too, which was good. Both teams felt like it was a really important game, and that was a really good aspect from it. Haaland has also scored in the last 4 games against Arsenal, if I'm not
Arsenal,
mistaken.
correct. Yeah.
So I mean, if people had this, it doesn't score in big games kind of thing. I mean, four goals, in consecutive.
it's good.
I don't know what you want to say about that. But the other thing is too, and I mean, I hope I'm not answering your question, John. But I just wanted to say that
You hope you're not answering no question?
no, I hope I'm not answering your question.
Oh, okay, thanks.
For the second goal, right? The most underrated part of the second goal is, and that nobody is talking about, is that Donnarumma literally redeems himself with the throw. Like
Yeah,
if
yeah.
he doesn't spot, if he
That was
doesn't
beautiful,
spot the
yeah.
run, and he doesn't realize that Martinelli is making a beeline for whoever in the stands, like if he doesn't
Yeah.
throw that ball properly, then and because I think it falls perfectly for O'Reilly on the run.
Bin stride.
I mean,
yeah.
he just goes straight down the next side, right? I mean, that's a real underrated thing. So I hope I answered your question, John.
No, that's fine,
Yeah,
bro.
and
But
I-
Last thing,
I just want to say
Yeah.
one thing before you go ahead, right? If I took all of the criticisms of Haaland since he's been in the Prem and I put them into one player, I would get Victor Gyökeres.
nah, that is too kind to Gyökeres as well.
No, I'm telling you, bro. I'm telling you.
Nah.
Literally, he has a bad touch, doesn't get involved in the game, hardly sees the ball during the game,
No, but the
not
thing
making
is, man,
good
I
runs,
fully
fighting
believe
with everybody.
people- I fully believe people who just say that, like they don't watch, like they
No,
seriously don't watch.
but that's exactly my point. Like all the
Uh,
criticisms of Haaland is what Gyökeres is, and there's a huge gap between what he is and what Haaland actually is. So
'Cause,
people just really discredit the man for a lot.
Because
Like,
the other
yes,
day I
I
saw
had a friend during the game who told me, he said, "Bro, I find Haaland is real rubbish." Like in the first half, I was like, "Bro, you and I watching the same game. Haaland has literally been as good as he could be. He fighting. A man literally trying to pull him down every 5 seconds. What
I
do
know
you
what that was about. If I had to guess, he talking about the true ball
when
to
he was-
Semenyo and when he hit the
Oh,
post. So
he
that true
scored.
ball to Semenyo, he has blood on his hands.
Well, Semenyo didn't help him. It's
Oh, so true.
That terrible touch.
Yeah,
No,
bro. And I
Semenyo
was like,
touched the
Semenyo-
ball.
No,
No, not
we
talking
talk
about like
about-
Semenyo's
No, he
chance.
tripped.
to help himself.
Yes.
Yeah.
Semenyo trip that because Haaland ball was that
But
was
his
that was
but
terrible.
whole
That
day,
was
Semenyo,
that part was garbage. I
but
don't know.
whole day
The one I hit the post
Semenyo
was
was
unlucky too. I thought he was really scoring that.
I
Yeah,
know
and
that
then
was
it had-
good. Yeah.
and then it had the one he scuffed the shot and it went completely wide now.
Yeah.
I was about a half
Ah.
a chance. I would not give that a full chance. A half a chance.
The pass was the worst for me. He's a great player, but the pass was the worst for me.
No,
That's
but,
such a
but the thing is, right? The other day somebody put a graphic with like the starting strikers for each team now, and they put the percentage of successful touches now, and Haaland was third highest, like
I
I
can see that.
like no,
I'm
but
not
like
shocked
funny
by
enough,
that.
like,
Yeah.
no, but I'm not either, and that's my point now. You want to guess who was last though?
Gyökeres.
Correct now, why? Because and the thing is, right?
Have you not heard Haaland be compared to a League Two striker? Is that not what the Gyökeres statistics would suggest here?
I think, yeah, but the thing is, I think, bro, I'm being so real. I tweeted this the other day, all right? Even not deleted it. Gyökeres to me, dog, is proof, is evidence rather to the question of how much goals you will score playing for City. People ask that, right? Like Prime Man City, how much goals you might score, boy. Now the fact that Victor Gyökeres managed 9 goals in this league, show me, you know what, boy. Maybe you could really go and stick somebody up top by and they might actually score some goals for Man City. Right? Just because be the right place, the right time, dog, you might really knock in a few goals up because I was going on through the sympathetic actually, and there's people who coming out of the game, and I know you're not big fans of either player, right, Pat? But and I am a fan of one of them, right? So there is some bias here that I do prefer Kai over Gyökeres, right? And Kai did miss chances. I'm not denying that. He also, again, he forced the error for the one goal that we did score, right? And Brandon is going to roll his eyes to the back of his head when I say that I don't think either chance was necessarily easy, but he could have done he should have done better, especially with the header. I think with the one that Odegaard set him on,
That's a terrible pass, by the way.
it's a terrible pass, bro. Right? But the header he should do better on. And he's better in the air than he is with his feet, right? But I don't think it's a surprise that again we had a striker who won 50% of his aerial duels, pulled wide and link up play, and we saw a better overall performance from Arsenal. And that the striker actually got 3 chances in the game as compared to the other one who has one shot on target, in his last 4 games played. And so I was going to ask you, Pats, do you think that it was validated then starting Kai over Gyökeres? Or do you think that it's more like horses for courses? He should start Gyökeres some games. Am I being harsh calling him the worst strike in the league? All of the above.
Nah, Gyökeres is one of the worst strikers in the league. I want to.
I don't even think he does start for Lena or Wolves. Big man, I think
he
so.
would.
Nah, he would.
Big man think dog, I think so damn strong over this man, dog. Or whatever the man name who started the top four. No, dog, I being so serious.
Premier League with a striker.
Yeah.
Hey, Ryan Bruce, how much up is he, man? Dog. Anybody does get these things sometimes in the dog.
Ryan Bruce, I don't like 14 goals in the league, bro.
To answer the question, I'm gonna take this opportunity to say the whole I predicted this. I think I was one of the few people
he did.
against
He very
this
much was
Gyökeres.
on Gyökeres. Yes.
Yeah, because he sucks. But no, he doesn't suck. He's just a bad profile for Arsenal. That's what my thing was. I think that 100%. I mean, I said this already, right? I thought I got the lineup as right as he could have. It had injuries, so obviously I'm not going to say Saka should have played, Timber should have played, whatever.
I don't mean to interrupt you, but what I'm asking is like, okay, well I did ask that too, but also like, do you think going forward, because like there's people who going to only remember the missed chances by Kaina, but like again, is a part to play in getting to those chances, gain territory and all that stuff.
Okay, I can answer.
And I know that, and I know that off the cusp of losing the game where he had a chance in the last 3 minutes.
Yeah.
People not going to want to hear about the overall package now. But my thing is, even if you don't like that side of the conversation, denial of it does not mean it doesn't exist now. You know, it still is part of the game. And Gyökeres is beyond non-factor for 99% of the game now.
If we compare Havertz to Gyökeres, Havertz is a better player, a better striker, a better suit for Arsenal. I don't know if that was the answer he was looking for. To keep this as short as possible, I don't think Havertz is a good striker. I've warmed up to him as a player. I think he's a much better midfielder than a striker. I could see him transition kind of like that Joelinton. Obviously, he don't have the aggressiveness, but for Arsenal, maybe he could do a much better job in the midfield as opposed to leading the lines. And here's why: he's just not a good finisher. No one could convince me that he's a good finisher. Yeah. He brings a lot to the game. I think he holds up the ball well. He's comfortable in possession. He's comfortable out of possession. He presses well. We even saw it, right? And his understanding of space is quite good. Yeah, he's just not a good finisher. It's him. And he's too old now to go and work on that. I think as a midfielder, he could help the team a lot more. And hopefully Arsenal goes and gets a fast, capable striker. It needs to be a fast one, though. Arsenal need pace somewhere. And I think
I fully agree. But that's the thing, right? That is the profile that you was sold on with Gyökeres now, because you watch all his highlights of it. It's him running in behind, it's him sizing up defenders, it's him working angles. And this is why I can't take the argument of him service and whatever, bro. You know what times we feed this man in behind and it leads to absolutely nothing? Like that's why I don't have the time for it now, boy. However, I think it's fair that I'll probably say my piece, and then after this we can talk about Tiger Race, and then after our episode down here we can talk about other stuff as well, right? But let's be real, guys. Nobody really care about the fact that Spurs draw Brighton and that Villa finally get Watkins back in form.
Correct.
I don't really care about that, right?
Correct.
For me, what I came out of yesterday feeling, boy, is that I just wish I could get. No, don't get me wrong. The manager has a part to play this, because as I said leading up to this in the lineup, is that I do think that there's many times that he had chances to make bolder choices for the sake of creating a better balanced team on the field that he has opted out of doing too often, and he has the whole responsibility for that. I'm also saying that if we don't go on to win this league, I do think that he should walk, because I do think that it is to that point now where even if I think that he's capable of fixing it, I do think that there's a point where mentally that a reset is needed now. However, I'm not at that point yet of that is all over and whatever. Because funny enough, I don't know why I thought that City goal difference is way better than ours. And granted that they after they beat Burnley 5-0, It will be level on points, and they'll be ahead on goal difference by 3, right? And so, you know what? By straight shootout for the rest of the season, fair. But what I was going to say is that my biggest regret is that I haven't had some of these players for a larger portion of the season to play together. And ultimately, that's just life, and you gotta be able to adapt to that. And what I sat thinking during the international break was that our summer transfer window, with the exception of Eze and Zubimendi, we bought players to secure the floor, essentially, right? Of that, even if we can't get the highest level of the brand of football we want to play, we bought the kind of players that we could still put out a decent enough 11 to get performances over the line. But I think that we have reached a point where we run those players to the max of what can be expected of a backup, and now the expectations are shifted to them being starters, of Kai and Odegaard, right? And they be real loud. Surely some of my closest friends, though. All in all, is not Odegaard's biggest fan here, right, though? But the fact that I've gotten Kai and Odegaard combined games is less than 15 in the league this season. Of that, Saka has had 3 different injuries this season and kept them out. And I think that even with the depth that we did buy, I don't think that Arteta would have thought that he would have had all of them missing so often this season. And then see yesterday, and bro, we get our performance yesterday. I get our performance versus Bournemouth, versus so much of the teams that we drop points against. We wasn't dropping points. Like, just being very honest, we wasn't going to drop points. And the biggest regret is not having those pieces available before. Now, ultimately, he's the manager, job Tada, and I think that he does be a bit too hierarchical when it comes to when somebody is missing, just next man up rather than studying balance. Like I said last week against Bournemouth, I think Bournemouth is the extreme case of I don't think there was much that he could have done, but I don't think that's always the case prior before now, where okay, only the men who want to move off the ball was available fitness wise. All right, well, you had to play that and try and white knuckle it through, right? But I think that isn't always the case. I think that there has been times to balance the players who want to be on the ball versus the players who want to move off the ball. Players who want to create for others are players who want to be the ones created for. And he hasn't always struck that balance. And then yesterday, I saw a team that was way more balanced. I saw a team that went and created as much big chances as the opposition, who are our main title rivals. And I just felt sad knowing that, bro, if we had this most weeks, then this game, sure, we lost, but it would have been a non-factor in the grand scheme of things, But now, where I do sit is that if it is that you'll have to ask me, because it's gonna be level on points again when Haaland get a hat-trick on Wednesday, right? And Rodri groin hurt, but then he can reappear against Southampton in the Wembley game, right? But where I sit now is, okay, well, we now have the players back. Saka touch and go, they could be back any day now. God alone knows where the hell Calafiori is, because we didn't even get injury updates on this man, though. Like, we just hear that he out, right? But we getting these players back. And if it's a case now where we are about to go bar for bar with these men, then all right, let me see. If you had to ask me going out for these next 5 games, if one team was to win 5 games, being really City. And I really do believe it will be City. But if you had to ask me today, April 20th, if both teams were to win the 5 games, who I think would come out with the better goal difference, logically, I think it would be us right now. And the only reason I say that is because City have the harder fixtures, even though they are in better form. In the next 3 games, the 3 games after the Burnley game, they play in 3 teams are fighting to try and finish in either Europa or Champions League or Conference League. And they're going away to all these teams, and it's teams that they have something to fight for. But understand what I'm saying is that they would win these games. But I'm saying that we have the fixtures that we can run and we score more as compared to them. Like, that making sense. I don't understand why you're watching me like that, Brandon. Like, I don't think that is an unfair thing to think about now.
I would agree with that. If Arsenal were to play all the games for the rest of the season, like how they play last season. But
I agree, right? And this is what I'm saying. We don't know if that's going to be the case, right?
Yeah.
And so that's what I'm saying. As of today, I could come again on Newcastle on Saturday, where if we might completely screw it up, and we might get a 1-0 win, and I might have to sit down here and tell all you, yeah, bro, the goal's not coming, But I saw green shoots there that we didn't get the goal at the end against City. But Odegaard first started back, Kai first started strike since injury, Eze first started left wing since December. Like, okay, if you get that going, we could probably get enough goals to try and GD this thing to the end. But if I was a betting man, I could tell you, yeah, though, City win this title. And if it is at the end of the day that Pep does win this title, I do think Arteta has to work after that. Because even though I think that there is misgivings that I don't think are on him, I think ultimately he has to take responsibility for everything that has happened. And that when there were chances, I think for him to be more creative with some of his solutions in injury situations, I don't think he's jumped at that. And I think that other managers have done that better than he has. And I have hoped that, and again, right, bro, like some of these injuries, boy, it is what it is, isn't it? And again, right, nobody wants to hear about injuries at this point in the season as an excuse, but this is just a reason to me as to why some of the performances have left people feeling lackluster throughout this year. That I told Sean this someday when we saw about Pedri, right? That you could have a backup for Pedri, you know, but ultimately, he's not Pedri. And you can't ask backup players to perform to the level of players that you think are of a certain caliber, you know? And I can't ask Nani to be Saka. I can't ask. I don't want to go back into Kai versus Gyökeres.
John, when they signed Madueke, you accepted that he was never going to be Saka. You
Correct.
just wanted him to take minutes off of Saka.
Correct. I did.
So I don't understand what you're saying. Like,
No,
you're
but I'm
shocked
saying
for
that.
me?
No. I'm saying that it has resulted in the position that he's had to play more minutes than I think anybody would have projected when he was signed in important games now, as compared to just managing him, keeping him fit, taking it on important minutes, that kind of thing now. Because of things that he's had to struggle with throughout the season, especially the hip injury. Like I think that one really is the killer, and that is what he has been dealing with and keeping him out as of now. But yeah, Virgil, your 2 cents, and then we can pick some. All right, forget the team of the week. Your 2 cents, and then after this, we go on now. Because that makes sense. We don't got to filter through all 10 games at this point. Though.
Yeah.
Nobody wanted to know who's the defender we're going to pick from Crystal
It
Palace.
actually don't even have. It actually have like 14 games this week too.
True.
Yeah.
True. So, yeah. Virgil, your 2 cents, and then
Yeah,
we
I
move on.
mean, yeah, going just to continue what you're saying there. Yeah, going to the end of the season, it really comes down to a shootout, as you say. It really comes down to goal difference. You know, for me, just to be how skeptical I am until we beat Burnley, and then we could finally be level on games played. Then,
All right,
then
spare me.
no,
Spare me. If you're literally
No,
not
I
called
know
any
that.
others, they are the worst team in the league now. They might not be last, but they are the worst team in the league now.
No,
Please don't do me.
I not focus on getting results now. I just focus on the goal score. So I just say as much as once
Okay,
you get that
okay,
out the
okay.
way, then I go focus on that. But as to that point,
Imagine right now, I would accept if all you beat Burnley 1-0, 2-0. Sign up for that today. Good.
Yeah.
Let it go the front, stay right there. That is all.
because Haaland does the deal sometimes. But I mean, as it stands right now, we're talking about past 30 weeks. Arsenal already brought themselves into this and having it right now being going down to the wire, going down to the last day, and really at this point, whoever make the mistakes first, they're the ones who lose the title. But yeah, I feel like the way that how it is doing it, my confidence will be different because I feel like if we do manage to go, let's say, a goal up, 2 goals up, there is a lot more that we have that we can run up the score. Whereas I know around this part of the season, and I say this from experience, the mentality is what will be the main factor. And I know in these games, also I hope to, is these are the types of games where if Arsenal do take that lead, I can't see Arsenal pushing all out to try and run up the score because it will be in the back of their mind if we do slip up and they hit us on the counter attack or whatever, and they slip up and they get a draw up, they know anything less than being perfect will be an issue. And that's really the theme of this end of the season. Liverpool know the best. If anything less than perfect is not there, then title as well.
The only thing I would push back on that for Virgil is because we have been in a situation before where being perfect wasn't enough in 23-24. And obviously that one didn't come down to goal difference, right? But this one can. And I think given that, like I don't think he'll gone, like, let me real, like this weekend we play Newcastle. He's not starting Rice as a Odegaard, right? He ain't doing that right now. But like I do think that's a scenario that we would end up seeing more often than not now. You know? Again, you're screwing up your face. You forget like Newcastle treat we like
I am aghast, bro. I listening to you. I didn't say nothing. No, I just aghast, bro. You keep talking.
But yeah. Alright, cool. Anybody have anything else? And we could go on to the next game. Yeah?
I'll keep it less than a minute. I totally agree with what Virgil's saying. That's exactly what I was gonna say too. I think personality wise, control is too important. I don't see control is too important, and I don't see him opening up the way he needs to wrestle this goal difference. Because every game has to have a 1-0 moment at some point, right? And that's a decision.
Yeah.
Right. You can't score 2 goals in the same ball hitting the back of the net. So, and that right there is where he's gonna have a serious decision to make. Do I open up and go for more, or do I just get this win? Because in the back of his head, if that 1-0 turns to 1-1, he's like, mistake.
No, but
And also especially relying on set pieces, because that also makes it open a lot more for counter attacks.
I was going to say right now,
Yeah.
you know how long we just call it a set piece goal? I find them they could come back a little bit in it. But
Yeah,
what I was
it
going
might.
to say though is that today is not the day to give Arteta credit for anything, right? And I fully hear that. But I do think throughout the season he has tried things that people always said that he would have never tried before.
Okay.
You know, like when Ezean Odegaard was fit at the start of the season together, he did start a game with the two of them. You know, he did and start with Rice and thing, right? And at that point, West Ham was considered one of the worst teams in the league and stuff. But my point is like he has been willing to try things, and I think that because there hasn't always been the option to try things in the manner that he would have liked, that there's the assumption that he's always rigid to some things, you know. But it's easy to say that any manager, not just him, right? Any manager is rigid to an ideal when it is that the options of what they would consider to be the other things that they're willing to try aren't available to them in that moment, as compared to going into the season what they thought it would have been.
That's fair. I mean, we're going to see, right?
Yeah.
That's all we could do.
Yeah. Brandon, anything at all? And then unfortunately we had to talk about your game.
Imagine we spent an hour and we didn't talk about the most magical moment of the game. Tricky literally putting Gabriel on his knees, running through Rice, Gabriel, and Saliba to score the opening goal. I mean, like,
yeah, bro.
Tricky is class.
Is it that I don't know if it's all comps or in the Prem, but I saw somewhere they said that he had 10 goals, 10 assists now though.
All comps.
Yeah, there's all competitions.
Yeah, bro. I mean, like consider like he missed a couple months through injury, and then Pepper and him had fallout for a little bit. That's a pretty good return though. And I messaged, I did not Terry Vigil, Philip.
Yeah.
I was talking to him today now. He's a City fan. And I tell him, bro, imagine there's an alternate universe where all they had spent 100 million on Wirtz and Turkey went to Liverpool now. Imagine that, eh?
Bro, there's also an alternate universe where they bought Eze.
Very true.
Hey, quick question. What do you feel about that Gabriel thing? Is that a red card or is that just
headbutts?
Yeah. I wasn't sure. I honestly don't know what to
That's 100% a red card. That's a red card every day of the week. Except title decide on Sunday.
Except on Sundays.
Yeah.
And Haaland pushed him before.
But it's a headbutt. Push is a red card, right?
Yeah, push is not a red card, bro.
But then,
if Romero did that, we know that was being a shit red.
I put that in our group chat.
If Romero did the same thing,
I fully believe it's just because it was between the two of them.
Yeah, exactly.
Specifically, you know. Yeah, it's because it's between Gabriel and Haaland. If it was Gabriel and anybody else, if it was Haaland and anybody else, though.
Yo, Maguire gets a red card there. And a 3-match ban.
Exactly.
Yeah, but that is because of the size of his head, bro. That is a big
thing. Have you seen Gabriel's head, bro?
When you bring up Maguire, and we'll go across to United, even though Maguire did not play this weekend because United put out the most bare bones back four, yet managed to keep a clean sheet. Yeah, bro. I wouldn't lie, dog. Brandon, I did see you were showering and I do some praise, bro. I be real. I watched that game. And 3 moments aside, one of which United did score from and credit to them. I do think that they did run their lock up bit. I think y'all hit the woodwork like 3-4 times in the game as well.
One was a handball.
And again, right, I'm aware that in losses, men don't want to hear positives. I thought Palmer was fairly good in trying to get everybody else to do something. But then that is where the missing this come from of he has also been the one to do something. The other thing, And I did say this in the group. I ain't lying to tell you, dog. See this Neto Garnacho thing?
Yeah.
I don't know how you live through this every weekend, though, because the two of them are so frustrating, though. And they're not just frustrating because they are what they are, you know. It's that, like, not a single good cross either of them put in, you know. Not a single one. You all dominated all the ball United. Decided putting 7 men in the box. And not one good cross went into an aerially dominant striker. Because the one you get, if I'm not mistaken, that was from a set piece, right? The one they lap get, unless I'm misremembering.
It was across. It was under
Okay. But like, bro, it just like so many crosses going waist high. So many crosses that beat the first one. And I'm like, how, you know? And I mean, credit to you, dog. I tell you earlier, 20 years from now, you're gonna come to light. These United players sign a deal with the devil, dog. We not score the chance unless Bruno make it, dog. Because Cunha get the same exact chance from a Buemo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And scoff it. But Bruno said it.
Yeah.
No problem. No problem. First time finish, dog. But
Bruno is such a good player, though. Like,
but,
I don't want to hear anyone else for.
Yes.
Huh?
Oh no,
But he's playing in his correct
fantastic.
position, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's fantastic. Though. But I want to say, boy, I do think Buemo and Cunha have escaped some criticism over the last few weeks
Yeah.
because Bruno has been on a tear, dog. Like, if it wasn't for Bruno hard carrying this whole team to this place thing, dog, we would have had a different conversation. Because, dog, I know we don't talk about Semenyo and he dog, Buemo, unless he gets to get run through on goal, he's offering nothing, you know. Nothing at
Facts.
all.
I don't know why Ahmad not playing. That don't make no sense to me.
It's a good thing he's not playing. He hasn't been good.
Yeah, no, but that's the thing.
Ahmad been better than Buemo.
And I think Sesko has been good off the bench. You know, like the games that he started, he hasn't impacted the games as much now.
I agree.
You know? So that, but Brandon, look, we don't want the pot to go past an hour and a half, right? So I'm just gonna
I'll keep it very short for you, bro. I'll keep it very short for you. When you have Liam Rosenior as your manager,
right? Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
When you have Liam Rosenior as your manager, like I don't know what people really expect, right? We have taken 5 points out of the last 24 available, right? That's 19 points dropped in 8 games, right? That is a lot of points, bro. Like,
yeah.
You want to tell them what's the last time you scored a goal?
In the league. 4 games ago. March?
It was March 4th.
March 4th was the last time we scored a goal. The last time we kept a clean sheet, I think, was 11 games ago. We conceded, I can't remember how much goals it is in the last 4 games. Didn't score a goal in the last 4 games. 4 L's. And I have nobody to expect anything from, right? Like, Palmer can't play any better, right? Because every time he came out and said, right? He came out and said in an interview that I'm feeling better. I feel like I can shoot the ball better. The injury was hampering me before. I feel good now, right? In the next game, doesn't shoot the ball at all. And then people come back and say, oh, well, he's injured, he can't, blah, blah, blah. So, I mean, I don't even know what to say, bro. Enzo came back, he looked pretty good in the first half. And that was about it. But, I mean, I if there's one thing I will say, though, I thought Heaven, even though he was the only centre-back available, I thought he was very good.
He played really good, yeah.
I think he played
started
really,
a bit
really,
shaky,
really well.
But he recovered and played really, really well.
Yeah, but overall he played really well. He kept the lap quiet, even though that isn't a very thing. The lap, it's the same as like a mute child. Like it now had to become quiet, and like that's just how it is for us.
Nah, I feel it.
In other news in the Prem would be that Tottenham looked like they was on course to finally get the first win of 2026. And Xavi Simons, who was actually having a very good game even before he scored, because his cross to Pedro Porro, I thought was actually fantastic.
Yeah, that was a good ball.
And then he scored a belter. But let me ask all this something though, right? Who in their right mind thought that it was a good idea? You know what, dog? It's the 77 minute. Let me take off my shirt. 77.
Player,
bro, like that is the most Spursy thing possible. Look, they take it out of 77 minutes, dies when to over celebrate, dog.
Yes, bro. It's the history of the Tottenham.
The history of the
Yeah,
top four.
bro. It was. It was. And well, that leaves them obviously with West Ham drawing today. The points of West Ham and Tottenham remains the same for West Ham.
It suck.
But Spurs are definitely still in the relegation spot.
Morgan
Outside that,
Gibbs White could
Leeds.
have potentially
Oh
gone
my
to Spurs,
gosh.
score a hat trick
Yeah, but
today to get him away
yeah.
from the country relegation zone.
Plus,
Yo.
somebody
Leeds.
else went big. Leeds went big, bro. Dog. I tweeted this the other day, right? I think when it all said and done, dog, Daniel Farker had to be in there for manager of the year, dog. Because outside of the fact that he completely turned them around, all of a sudden, Ellen Road is a hard place to go. He also have them in a FA Cup semi-final, so like fair play, bro. What an absolute fantastic job he did turning them around. And he doing this with the one striker who just above Victor is in least successful touches, which is Calvert Lewin. Um, Other than that, was Mo Salah signing off in his last Merseyside derby with a goal in his one and only ever appearance in the Hill Dickinson. Obviously, Beto scored as well, but in the last minute, Virgil van Dijk is really old guard carrying them through because why dare you ask Bruce and Isak to impact anything? And they won 2-1 in the end. So, forwards on the table remains the same in terms of the top four. It is United and Aston Villa level on points on 58, and then Liverpool on 55, and then you have Chelsea, Brentford, and Bournemouth all on 48. Anyway, yeah, you feel you're gonna play Champions League next year, Brandon?
Bro, you asking me the wrong question, but in 2 games I could be 12th. You asking me about Champions League football. In 2 games I could be 12th. If we lose 2 games, we go into 12th, you know. You laughing. Check look at the
No,
table.
bro, I'm not laughing, bro. There's only one side I just laugh at, dog.
Dog,
And they beat
but
us
dog,
this
let me
week.
tell you something, right? Apart from the fact that we have no more red cards, like, you know, we have to be positive about something.
You have no more goals. You have to bring back the red
No,
cards to
not
get
only that,
goals.
bro. Not only that, you're not understanding the process, bro. The process is go down into the Conference League, qualify for the Champions League, win the Conference League, go into the Champions League, not make the Champions League, go into the Europa League, win the Europa League, qualify for the Champions League, and then try to win the Champions League, bro. Or they're not reading the scene, bro.
That's
Yeah,
process.
it's a long-term project for a reason.
Process. That's why I say, bro.
In Spanish
in.
football, Real Sociedad beat Atletico Madrid in the final 2-2, and another domestic trophy eludes Antoine Griezmann,
I speak.
which is kind of crazy, bro. But obviously, there's the Champions League. How much
Do you want to hear a very interesting statistic, though? 10 of the 11 players who started the game for Sociedad came through the academy.
Oh wow, okay. In the Bundesliga, Bayern secured the 35th title.
160 goals, bro.
Yeah, bro. Crazy. Apparently, they like 16 away from some record. And they have 4 games left to do it to the league. So, yeah, you see, like most goals ever in our league. Thing. And then in Syria, I think Como had dropped out the top 4. I think that was the only thing. Yeah. And yeah, cool. All right, let me talk about the Champions League quickly and then we can get out of here. So, last week, it had the second round in Champions League. Obviously, Barca had a hill to climb, and we will start there. Yamal started a man on fire. But, Patrick, do you think he need to stop with the pre-match posts? Because those seem to produce the post-match results all the time, even though he did put in the performance. But yeah, Pat, what you thought about that game specifically?
Yeah.
And
It was a really good game. I think across the 2 legs, I'll answer the question, I guess, because I already started this way.
you good.
But
You good.
I think across the 2 legs, it was a real good game to watch. People who know me would know that I don't what's the word, boy? I don't take on. I also don't sugarcoat, and I don't really take on the wins or the losses. I'll be kind of happy when Barcelona win. I'll just be mildly disappointed when they lose. But I mean, at the end of the day, season goes on, right? That's whatever. I thought it was a really good game. I really enjoyed the game, even though the team I wanted to win ultimately lost. I thought it was a really good game. I thought Atletico approached it well. Counter-attacking was always going to be the play. It doesn't make sense to try front foot with Barcelona because they will always relinquish possession, and if you go on the front foot with them, they'll find the spaces. So that's not what you want to do. I really think Barcelona did as much as they could. I don't think there was much more to try apart from obviously the red cards, right? Which, if you don't mind, I want to take out 2 minutes and just address that at the end of my point. I think that ultimately Barcelona made a lot of chances. Rashford missed a ton. Lewandowski, Olmo, Fermin, even Yamal, missed a ton of chances. And maybe on a different day, they score. On the day, they lost. So, it happens. It happens. It definitely happens. For somebody that has been very critical of managers, I haven't been that critical of Flick. I think he's been pretty good since he came in. I said preseason, the highline thing needs to stop. I did say that, right? To me, the highline does not work. Okay, but all I could do now is, instead of saying please stop it, he's obviously not going to stop it. Okay, at least not this season. So now it's about figuring out, okay, if you want to do this, how is it going to work? Yeah, I think it's a tough one to ask relatively inexperienced players to play in such a risky situation time and time and again and still stay calm about it. I think that's a tough ask. And eventually, you force these youngsters to get into super uncomfortable positions, and they make last man tackles and get red cards. That happened in both legs, and that's happened throughout the season, both in the league and in the Champions League, and it keeps happening. So ultimately, the biggest blunder I would say this season was
Max, would
letting
you
go
say
Inigo
that?
Martinez. Huh?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
I was going to
that,
ask
yeah,
you
that
then,
for
would you
sure.
say that the red cards is a product of the system then, because it produces those situations?
So I want to say no, because I don't think it's a product of the system, because that's me saying that it's incapable to play that system without getting red cards. I think if you want to go with that system, you need to know who you're picking to play it. Okay? And going with youngsters is maybe not what you need. Funny enough, the way the season going, Araujo would have been a good one to put at centre back. And you need to watch all the games to understand exactly where I'm going with this. But he's been a lot calmer this season, and at least he has probably the most experience. If you just go for sheer number of high pressure games, he probably has the most experience out of all our defenders right now. I say now, like I just play on the team, I don't, but all of Barcelona defenders right now, right? I think Kubarsi still has a lot to learn. Fantastic player, still has a lot to learn, right? Gerard Martin, fantastic. Fantastic is a stretch, but good depth,
Yeah, solid
good
player, yeah.
deputy so far, right? But still has a lot to learn in these moments, and Eric Garcia as well, And you put inexperienced players in uncomfortable position time and time and time again, and it leads to rash decisions, because all of us could sit here and say tackling Soloth was the you didn't need to do that. Okay, he's not fast. There was enough space to catch up. Okay, there was only one thing Soloth was ever going to do, and he was going to turn around and hold the ball up and try to get other players involved. He was never going to make it to the goal. But in the pressure of the moment, and it's like it's 2-1, and we can't afford for another goal to concede. And hey, this guy is in on goal and he scored on us before. I'm going to try to win that however best that I can. And he obviously fouled him. It was a red card. I don't care about the defensive cover thing. It's a red card. The first leg was a red card as well. Yeah. So
Yeah.
so it's a weird situation, right? I think I've been saying this for a while now. Barcelona are 2 players away from being a really, really competitive team. They're already a competitive team, but there's cracks. If Flick wants to lean into this highline thing, you need to go get Van de Ven. And if Flick wants to score goals, okay, because the reality of football is all your players don't be fit all the time. Rafinha might get injured, Yamal, Fermin. These guys might get injured. Rashford has never been a great finisher, so relying on him to score the 1-2 chances that you make from him is maybe not great. They need to go get a capable striker. The talk is Alvarez right now. I think there's a couple options that Barca could look at, but Need a
I saw
capable
like a
striker
solid funny enough
or
this week.
fast centre back. Huh?
I see like a solid funny enough this week.
Yeah, I mean, look, whoever it is, it needs to be a guy that could finish chances. I think Lewandowski a little off it right now, and fair enough, right? Really old guy. And if you're going to commit to this high line, you need a very fast, at least one of them, a very fast centre back. I think Van der Ven is going to be perfect for that. Apart from that, I had a real good time watching the game. I am excited to see what Barcelona does in the summer, and I think get the summer right, hopefully keep Flick. I think Barcelona could be very, very competitive come next season. Very disappointed that they lost to Atletico, though, obviously. You know?
Pat, I get the inside where they go and pull our next lever all. Yeah, that what going on. Yeah.
Oh, there's a whole room full of levers, guys. Like, they never run out of lever.
Brandon, obviously on that side of the bracket, once again, because it's the same case as last season, we have a semi-final where two teams who have never won the Champions League before on it, right? What it is, was your thoughts about Atletico? And after that, I want you to tell me, because I know you watched the Bayern versus Real game. So yeah.
Oh, you want to
Actually,
talk about Atletico first?
instead of that one, no, talk about Atletico first, and then talk PSG Liverpool, because I'll let Virgil do Real.
Okay. The Atletico, I thought they were good value for the to get through in the end. I totally agree with everything Patrick said. I have maintained from the start, since people spoke about this high line, that if we're talking about the high line, then that means that the attack is not firing. And that has been the story of the high line every single time. If the attack is firing, somehow the high line comes into question. And that's the whole point. The high line is to attack, not to defend. So yeah, that aspect. I agree with what you said about getting the defenders and stuff. You definitely need the personnel too. PSG Liverpool though. This is one of the times where, unfortunately, there was a huge gap between the two teams. I don't think Liverpool played poorly. I don't think Liverpool played poorly, but I think that PSG, when they turned it on, and I feel like there was in both halves, in both legs, you could see when they turned it on, when they actually started to move the ball, when they started to move between each other very quickly, and the second goal they scored in the second, like Dembele's second goal, it's just pure knife through butter stuff, bro. It's such a wonderfully worked move. Like Liverpool's defenders are nowhere to be found. You just have the keeper grasping at for air, and I think it's very, very, very impressive, boy. Like they have, and the fact that they've been able to maintain this level for 2 years, and and I don't think they look much different. If you ask me if like some of the players not playing up to the level, I would probably say yeah, but then I think other players that I think are actually performing a lot higher than last year. So that
and players
is
who come
very
in,
scary, boy. Sorry,
and players who come in though. Like look how Zaire Emery come in for Fabian, bro. And I'm so glad that he is not just playing but playing well, because like I was worried for a while that I thought that he was really talented and was not being used now. But watch how we come in for Fabian, bro, and it's like same thing clicking over again now. Virgil, Real versus Bayern, because I know you watch that one for sure, right? What was your thoughts? Kevin, you love Real Madrid so much, but you love Bayern because company's Bayern coach.
I'm just glad the way the game turned out how it did. Not just results, but the entertainment factor. This is a UCL classic. So from next season, we could stop seeing Man City versus Real Madrid, and they could start milk Man City because Bayern versus Madrid. I am so glad everybody enjoyed this game. Please, next season, let's do it. Another game that could be the final. From that, we see, Bayern. Don't get me wrong, Bayern has been the best side in the competition so far because of the attack, but Bayern has still shows that there are a lot of issues in the team, a lot of errors, and if there's one team that could exploit that is Madrid. So we saw that how they were able to capitalize on that. When the second half came and everything changed after the red card, and again, very, very silly red card, a very silly red card. It's a definite red card. For some reason, I honestly feel like the referee forgot that he gave Camavinga a yellow card.
It genuinely looks so
like that.
It genuinely looks so though that he turned around like, oh shucks, it was a second yellow to give him the red card.
Yeah, but I mean, they could go out and say that that made them lose the game. Some people would argue. I would still say that how regardless that loss was inevitable, but the way that how that goal scored, we saw minutes earlier where I think it was Diaz who had a chance and Camavinga was the player that
Yes,
rushed out and
yes.
stopped that, and nobody and
Yeah.
no and with Camavinga gone, nobody had time to really adjust, and no
I'll step
player
it too.
stepped in to fill that whole Camavinga left. But at the end of the day, it is what it is. The quality of Bayern was too much. I give a lot of credit to them. Honestly, shout out even Musiala when he came on too. I felt like he was playing such good football, and we know Lisa was
Yeah.
trying his best to get a goal. So it was going to be
Bro,
Bayern
it's
level.
it's so funny that Gnabry is a starting 10 far side in 2026 chasing
Yeah,
that triple little.
crazy.
Who would have thought it, dog?
Hmm.
But big up my dog. So we have PSG versus Bayern, and I think in that tie we could be looking at the potential Ballon d'Or winner in being in one of those two teams,
Yeah.
because we've seen two teams that are facing troubles once again. That and a lot of players who are going into the World Cup where the nations will be favourite. Obviously, we have the Portuguese players at PSG, have Dembele and Olise on either side, both for France. And then there's the man who has been chasing glory his whole life and only started to get a taste of it that he's gone Bayern, which is Harry Kane, right? Who has been having another historical season, who is impacting the Champions League, who is impacting in the biggest games. And that's kind of where I have to stop talking because they be real. Like England really just not in a good place right now, right?
Yeah.
Even though he might be in a good place, you know. However, Pat, and I'm just trying to see you fast because I guess after this I'll talk about Arsenal and Atleti. But this is 2 years now where Mbappe is going trophyless since he's going to Real. And funny enough, me, you, and Brandon sat on a pod and talked about how it is that they were not working and that it is very unbalanced. And despite all the FIFA merchants out there that was saying, yeah, bro, just play this one day, play this one day, play this one day, it must work out. And it
Hmm.
hasn't worked out. And even though the raw numbers say one thing, where Mbappe obviously has been a huge goal scoring success since he's been there, the balance has been lacking, the big game performances has been lacking. And yeah, so what do you think for Mbappe's legacy then? This is 2 years that he's gone to a league and Champions League double winning team. And since then, since the first time in 14 years or 16 years, I see that they are going 2 years trophyless.
Yeah, it obviously doesn't look good at all. He's still young enough to where it could turn around, and in the second half of his career, I guess he could end
Yeah,
up
yeah, yeah.
winning a hell of a lot because it's Madrid, right? They're gonna win a lot of trophies. Two things that I would say this season. One, Xabi Alonso didn't really work out, so that was a little bit unfortunate. And I guess the pair with that Barcelona was firing. So because
Yeah,
there's
yeah.
been 1 or 2 seasons where Madrid weren't at the 100%, but Barcelona also weren't, and they were able to win a trophy. Anyway, that being said, though, I think this is the major one. I've started saying this maybe from about a month ago. Um, and this is probably real controversial, but I think if Madrid just sell Vinicius, put Mbappe
Yeah,
in his best position, because Mbappe is better than Vinicius. I don't care what anybody says. I think they could be on for something crazy there. Get an actual striker, please. And the right thing is, whatever anybody could play there. Or they could play 4-4-2, like whatever they want to do, really. Mbappe need that freedom that Vinicius does get. Because I looked at the game that stood out the most to me was Madrid in the quarterfinals. Mbappe was injured. Vinicius got chance after chance after chance after chance. Missed most of them. Missed penalties. I was just thinking, like, if Mbappe has
you're
this
on
type
the
of
16.
freedom,
Yeah,
you're
yeah,
looking at 5 goals in one game, maybe.
yeah.
He's not a good striker. Everybody knows this, and Mbappe and Vinicius doubling up on one side, it just doesn't look good.
Yeah.
So I would say sell
Yeah.
Vinicius and let the trophies rain in. Obviously at Barcelona's expense.
Yeah, guys, Brandon just had to leave there. He has everybody here actually a responsibility to go to, and his one just came up a little sooner than everybody else. But I'll just talk about Atletico and Arsenal just real quick, and then we get out of here. Well, obviously Arsenal game didn't have much to talk about because there was only one goal game through it. That was a Kai goal. Fantastic goal though. Touch and finish. But
Mhm.
going into it, It's so funny that once again we play a team in the semifinals that we meet up in the league phase where we beat them in the league phase, but yet we're facing them in a very different time. Obviously, they have Lookman now that has really added to a really strong attacking group that Atletico has to offer. Not just with who stars, but then when you have Solid coming off the bench as well. And I do think it's gonna have a very interesting tie. There's people that is thinking it's gonna be Haram. Well, let me tell you something. When these two teams met in the league phase, they finished 4-0. And I can tell you there are going to be goals in this game. They are going to be goals in this tie, and it is going to be very high intensity. I have had some green shoots of belief coming out of yesterday, but that is not enough when it comes to the Champions League. What could fly in league games in terms of, yeah, bro, just keep making chances, somebody gets score eventually. Knockout football is very different. You have to take those chances. And I need to see those players step up and take those chances. And but we're in a position again where, look, again, as I said, if we finish the season trophy, let's start at us to go. But there are things that we do take for granted under him now. That this is the first time in our history in two semi-finals back to back in the Champions League ever. You know, the lowest that we've ever left the Champions League since he's brought us back in it is the quarterfinals. And we have a chance here to go to the final for the first time since 2006. So, yeah, bro, take it on, see what comes out of it. And yeah, with that, guys, we're gonna end the pod there. I want to thank you guys so much for your time. This is out on a Tuesday because I had a little family emergency on Monday, on Sunday night, guys. So I really appreciate these guys rescheduling their lives to be here today. And we catch you guys next week. Catch you guys next time. See you soon. Take it easy. Later.
Mm-hmm.